My parents came to the UK 1980s, right? The way they survived, the way they did stuff allows me to sit here and be on a podcast with you, Kishan. You know, I was at the House of Lords yesterday. You know, it's a kind of a thing. You know, I've been to the Prime Minister's house. I've been to the House of Commons. I've been to the House of Lords. These things are like things that my parents wouldn't even contemplate that were possible for a Sri Lankan boy or someone of Sri Lankan heritage. So in Toronto, actually, so in Toronto, 2015, I was working with a group of people, and we were looking at different kind of events around entrepreneurship. I noticed that there were a lot of female entrepreneurs that were out there doing entrepreneurship. I decided, like, wouldn't it be cool to host a event which amplified their voices about their journey into entrepreneurship, right? To inspire other females to adventure into entrepreneurship and breaking down barriers about the perception of female entrepreneurs, especially from the Sri Lankan Tamil community. My eldest son was just before he was 2 years old, actually. For his second birthday, I bought him a swing ball set in the summer in the UK, and he was like playing around with it in the garden area and stuff like that. And then, yeah, it just kind of naturally he started playing with a cricket bat and a ball. His level of desire to be involved in cricket grew when he saw me play. And even now, he still feels that if he gets good enough, he's going to play in the men's team with me one day on a Sunday. My youngest, my son below, age 4, he's just turned 4. He's kind of like a bit of an all-rounder. Like he'll play soccer, and like my eldest son is always in a cricket shirt. My youngest one is always in an Arsenal shirt, so a football shirt. If we don't move the needle in our lifetime on various different things, that is failure.
The last couple of years have been more of like, just try something. You never know whether it's going to succeed or not, but at least you tried.
Exactly. And you got to try, like you got to give it a shot. Like, you know, as you know, Wayne Gretzky's famous quote, like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I always have something that I'm striving towards. The outlook is always kind of what I'm actually, you know, looking at on the horizon. You know, going back to what I said, moving the needle, right? Yeah. I'm moving forward. Yeah, building from the heart. That is like literally the foundation of entrepreneurship, good entrepreneurship, right? You're building that with a different level of hunger, right? So for me, those entrepreneurs that find problems that they are relatable to, right? I truly believe you'll have more luck in succeeding.
Hi guys. Before we dive into today's episode, I've got a quick favor to ask. If you've been enjoying the conversations here on Zen and Now, whether it's helped you reflect, grow, or just feel a little bit more seen, take a second to hit that subscribe or follow button on whatever platform you're listening on. Subscribing means you won't miss a single episode, and it also helps more people discover the show, people who might really need these kind of real and honest conversations. And if you're feeling extra generous, leave a quick rating or review. It honestly makes a huge difference and keeps the podcast going strong. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome back to Zen and Now, where mindfulness meets modern hustle. Today's guest is Kobi Yoganretnam, a devoted family man, dynamic entrepreneur, and a trusted startup advisor, and a passionate community advocate. He's also a sports lover, bringing the same energy and teamwork from the field into his business and community work. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kishan. Appreciate it. Really nice intro as well. And I can see both of us wearing soccer shirts as well.
Yeah, football jerseys, yeah. It's not the teams we support though, but yeah, generally.
Exactly.
So Kobi, just bring us back to the why. What drives you? What's your passion towards, entrepreneurship? And also what drives you, to get people starting up, and also your drive within the community?
Yeah, what drives me? I think going down to back when I was a kid, you see, coming from an Asian household, working hard is the norm, right? It's not like you're not overachieving if you work hard. So for me, seeing my family, my mom, my dad, my uncles working hard in various different fields, from professional fields to straight up hustling, I had a respect for everything. And so for me, the why comes down to like adding value to basically anything that I do, right? So if it's playing sport with my kids, or helping my father-in-law with something, or my wife with something, like I want to add value, right? It's not just helping, because that's the norm. That's the bar, right? And you want to just overachieve. It comes down to like a little bit of a mantra, which I don't know if I read it or I just feel it. It's like you kind of want to leave the world a better place than you received it, right? And it's not to sound so cliche, but you just want to better yourself, right? And you want to better whatever was given to you. So for me, that is my purpose. And whatever I do, if it's more of a charitable thing or if it's more of a business thing, I just want to strive to to be above the bar.
Yeah. And that comes also from within yourself, right? Because you've seen your predecessors and your dad and your family members also do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it can't, again, I feel like it's cliche because it's like very, when you're from a diverse community, like an Asian community, an underrepresented community, especially, just regularly you see people around you working extremely hard, right? To get whatever they can. And for me, it's like, I don't want to put their hard work to waste. That's it, right? I get to spend so much time with my kids because my family my parents and my mom, my dad, people around me laid the foundation for me to be in this position I'm in.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they couldn't spend enough time with me, or they couldn't because they were working so hard, but their hard work allows me to work hard, but also get the fruits of their labor and spend time with my children.
Yeah.
Right? So this kind of full circle thing for me is just being able to do the things I want to do, be happy, but also be observant and be an example for my own family, my kids, and people around me, my community as well.
Yeah. I mean, you make an important point there, because your kids are also at that age where they're sponges. They actually see a lot of what you do, because it's always, we always go back to the notion of kids they're more reactive to what you do instead of what you say.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, it comes down to those things when people say, like, if you read in front of your child, they'll want to read too. Right. It comes down to, like, one of my kids asks a lot of questions. And I've recently started to kind of think about the fact that I ask a lot of questions, but I actually ask them within myself. Why is this done this way? Or why do I need to kind of like observe this same kind of, thing that I've been told? But he's asking these questions out loud. Right. And I always wonder, like, was I like that as a kid? Did I ask lots of questions? And now I'm asking those same questions within myself because I don't need to have a sounding board anymore. I am the sounding board.
Yeah.
So yeah, like these days, my kids, they're age 4, my boys are 4 and 5. Sponges, 100%. They are sponges. You got to be careful what you say around them.
Yeah.
You got to be careful, like, not to teach them bad habits. But as a 42-year-old man, like, you naturally will have bad habits, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of need to cover those bad habits up. But the truth is no one's perfect, right? And, I'm not expecting my boys to be perfect. So they'll make their own mistakes. They'll, walk their own footsteps. All I can be, and the people around them can be, is like, the scaffolding. So if they fall, they're there. And that's kind of how I was brought up. I always think that my mom brought me up to fall, scrape my knees, and then get back to stuff. So yeah.
I think we all have those body scars to prove that we were very rough and tumble.
100%.
And each one tells a story on its own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've not just the scars. I've had broken bones. I've done it. I've done it all. Like, I've had a lot of visits to the hospital as a kid just because I was just so adventurous and just so out there doing stuff.
But that's what it's about. I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, if you feel this way, quite recently, a lot of the perception or, imagery now on social media is about the 80s and the 90s. People are trying to strive back towards human interactions and, physical activities. Do you feel that kind of shift in energy nowadays, or is it somewhat balanced?
As in 100%, 100%. I was in a room yesterday with 150 South Asian business owners. And it was a really nice event hosted by an international bank. I'm not going to name them, but it was at the House of Lords in London, and it was traditional. It was people giving out business cards. People were handshaking. People were talking about catching up offline, not saying, hey, I'll send you an email or I'll send you a WhatsApp. It was like, hey, do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to go for a drink? Or do you want to sit down? I think it's a superpower to be able to, have an interaction with somebody and make them feel like you're interested in them and you have something to give them. So you can build on that kind of exchange of, skills, ideas, philosophy. And I think, that is a skill set which is totally gone when things are just like virtual, right? And, it's just sitting down, having a coffee with someone, like physically sitting there with somebody makes a huge difference when it comes to just building a relationship. So yeah, I love the fact that things are kind of reversing back. I actually saw someone the other day with an analog cell phone.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that is so cool. And I was like, does it even work anymore? And he told me that it's actually an analog phone, but it's actually a recent phone. It's a current phone it does all the things that you need to do apart from like being a smart media phone.
Yeah.
But it totally works. And I was like, oh, that is kind of refreshing. Nowadays we've got smartwatches, we've got cell phones. I've got WhatsApp on my laptop and, Slack here for work. And I've got this and that. And, you're too plugged in. So yeah, it's quite refreshing just to be a bit old school.
Yeah. And given now that you also, spend time with your boys, I think you yourself are now getting out there as well. And it takes you back to your childhood as well when you were growing up. You were kind of figuring things out. And now that you now get to part that wisdom onto them, it becomes a bit more meaningful in a way that, the groundwork that was laid for you, you also now laying the groundwork for them. Because somebody told me, a friend of mine told me something very interesting when we first moved to Toronto. He's like, laying down roots is always the hardest part. The next generation will bear fruit to that labor. And I feel, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. It makes total sense. Like my parents came to the UK 1980s, right? The way they survived, the way they did stuff allows me to sit here and be on a podcast with you, Kishan.
Exactly.
Right? Like it's really simple. Like it's like, I was at the House of Lords yesterday. It's a kind of a thing. I've been to the Prime Minister's house. I've been to the House of Commons. I've been to the House of Lords. These things are like things that my parents wouldn't even contemplate that were possible for a Sri Lankan boy or someone of Sri Lankan heritage to be in those rooms, right? So when people do move, they move like countries, towns, and things like that. Like you're doing it for a better life for yourself, but also for the future, for people beyond you, right? Future generations, right? And also doing that, you're adding value to the local ecosystem, right? People immigrate to different places in the world to build a better life for themselves, but they don't do that selfishly.
Yeah.
They do that for themselves and future generations, but they also add and plant seeds for the community around them to receive and also to kind of like just energize around, right? So for instance, Chinese food in Toronto, right? Like 50 years ago, maybe 60 years ago, it was probably a small one shop, one guy doing it. And now the Chinese have come and immigrated to Toronto, and they've got towns, they've got blocks. So they've brought their culture, they've brought their spirit, their energy, so many things they brought with them. And they've turned that area of town in Toronto, or parts of Toronto, into such a multicultural, energizing place, right? So, when we do move places and we immigrate, and people immigrate for various different reasons, if they're refugees, for instance, if they're escaping war, persecution, or if they're just doing it because they think they have better opportunities in a different place, the next step is always to better themselves, but also to plant their own culture in the ground, right? So others can actually really observe it and welcome it too.
Yeah. Okay, I know we're going a bit off topic here, but I think this is in the natural flow of things. And what I'm seeing lately now on the media and in the news, a lot of backlash for immigration. Now yourself living in the UK, how do you feel that affects, or what is your perception of that? Given now that you're also trying to, build the South Asian community from.
Yeah, good question. Like for me, my thoughts on immigration is inevitable, right? People are always going to be migrating around the world. The reason for immigration is the problem, right? And sometimes immigration is forced upon someone, right? They need to immigrate. They are refugees. They're escaping persecution, war, the loss of family, things like that. So in those circumstances, opportunities for immigration needs to happen, right? But I think the very difficult subject is who is going to be the judge and jury of does someone actually have the right to immigrate, and like for me personally, like I am not someone. I welcome immigration. My family's immigrants. People around me, my friends, their parents, etc. We are all, we're all borderline kind of one thread away from an immigrated group of people.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. But the harmony of living together is really the key element here, and I think that is the part that needs to be educated. The fruits of these people immigrating, that's what needs to be advertised, right? Yeah. And I wish that was more like in the shop window rather than people saying that immigrants are taking jobs and stuff like that. They're not taking jobs.
No, it's
right. They're working hard. Yeah, it's a misconception. I think that certain people are fueling that misconception with their own kind of mandate and their own kind of strategy, which is putting fear into people's lives and making people turn their cheek towards immigrants. And even the word immigrant, like it's tainted now. I actually feel it's tainted, it should be such a lovely word that we, people immigrating, people are moving, we should welcome them and rejoice that they're moving and wanting to share what they have with us and we can share what we have with them. Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And we all have our strengths and weaknesses that we come with as well. But it's how quickly we can also assimilate, because sometimes I feel we bring too much of the negativity or the negative aspects of where we come from into a new culture, and we expect people to just respect us for that. But in terms, it has to work the other way around. You got to be also respectful of the way they've been living as well.
100%.
It works hand in hand. And I feel some people kind of like take it for granted because it's, we're saying the first world or second world or third world countries, but it doesn't matter. It's about just being conscious and respectful to the next human being. That's all it is.
Nothing more. That's all we got to do. The whole world would be such a better place if we just had that level of simple ideology.
Yeah. Goes back to the days when my grandparents were also immigrants, right, to South Africa. If you think about their journeys, they set up roots so that we could. Also, they fought apartheid. They fought the oppression of the South African government back in the day, and they laid the grounds, and the freedom fighters, they laid the ground for us to actually have an education and actually be now sitting here like this, like you said, on a podcast in another country, to be able to do that. So we're grateful for all of the sacrifices and going even beyond the future now, from present to future, there will be more sacrifices made. And I feel like you have to be also mindful to know that there's going to be a time when you're going to be reaping the rewards and you're going to be laying seeds and foundations for all of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's, I'm with you on that one.
And given that now you're a proud family man, how has your home influence inspired your leadership, in decision making, and what's best for you?
I think my leadership style has always been someone that likes to. I'm highly empathetic, so for me, I'm very people person. I'm very kind of just always around, making sure that people around me are happy, because I think people that are happy perform better. And I think my leadership style has changed to be a little bit more hands off. Like, I allow people just to get on with things and come to me with problems. And I've naturally always been a problem solver. And I think after being married, I think one of the key things I've learned is to my mum used to say this to me a lot, like, you've got 2 ears, you should listen more than and talk less.
That's all about.
I think my wife has taught me that quite heavily. So I think for me, listening more to people around me and observing a little bit more has been something that I have not recently, but over the last few years, I've been kind of building that into my kind of like day to day, rather than being quite, I wouldn't say authoritative or being a dictator, but before, you'd think a leader is the loudest person in the room, right? That's kind of what you see in movies, you see like from prime ministers, presidents, soccer team managers, cricket coaches, the loudest person is the top person, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the case. And I think for me, I've started to learn and listen more by observing and being the sponge in the room rather than being the loudest.
Yeah. What makes you happy? I know it's a loaded question, but
yeah, no, it's a good question to have. Like, there's so many different things. What makes me happy? What makes me happy is that I feel like I have found a strategy in my life that if I follow, then I'll be happy, that the people around me will be happy. And it goes down to like people around me being happy, right? So, I still play cricket, and like spending 7 hours on a Sunday makes me extremely happy. Like, it really, like the meditative elements of cricket, of standing in the field for 3 hours for batting, and there's so many points in cricket which I refer to as they're all meditation points, right? You're bowling, you're on your own, right? When you're batting, you're on your own. When you're fielding, you're on your own. And these moments in time are time for meditation, right? And it's about focus. That you can't switch off. My wife watches a cricket game and she'll say, "You were just standing around for 8 hours, like, like that's not really playing sport, right?" But the truth is that you've got to, if you're going to be a good player, you've got to be focused. You've got to be switched on. And I think for me, happiness comes from an array of things. It's the people around me, as I said. It's about finding the right balance of meditation, acceleration, in all the things I do around me, and just adding value. It goes back to that one thing. I just want to add value to people around me, and the things I do. And, if 5 people hit me up and say, "Hey, Kobi, I saw you yesterday and you did a keynote somewhere, was really inspiring. Would love to get some time with you." I'd be like, "Yeah, cool. Let's do that." And that makes me happy, because I just feel like I'm making a difference somewhere. I can pass on my knowledge somewhere. And I've always said this, I'm never going to be the smartest person in the room. I know that for a fact. But what I will do is I'll be in that room. That's the key thing for me. I'll be in that room with the smartest people.
Yeah. And presently there as well.
Yeah. Like, listen, that's the thing, like going back to the last question, like I just listen a lot. And this is why I like listening to podcasts. I listen to audiobooks, and whatnot. And I've always been a huge fan of autobiographies. And, autobiographies of business leaders, of politicians, of criminals. They're just fantastic reads, and you can just learn so much from other people's mindsets.
Yeah. Any thoughts on your autobiography? Have you thought about it?
You know what? With Gen AI these days, like, I'm pretty sure, like, I could somehow use some Gen AI tool to just build out the first kind of 10 chapters of my life.
Yeah.
But I do feel like one day when I'm bored and my brain is still working, I will do that. And it's not because I want anyone to read it. I just want to document my life. I just want to document it somewhere. And I'm not expecting anyone to read it, but it's more to do with the fact, like, I just, you'll forget moments in life. Like, I was thinking about something the other day, which is I was thinking about a photo. I was just thinking about a photo of my uncle. And I was thinking about him, and I was just thinking that, like, we I don't know how many photos are in my phone, but I don't have a photo of my uncle because he passed away in 2012, right? I didn't take a photo on my phone. But I think about it and think to myself, like, just not photos, but memories. Like, people take a lot of photos, right? And they can equate to memories. Oh, do you remember that time? Look at the photo, right? And sometimes with how I perceive things about an autobiography for me is that when I'm in my 60s or when I'm in my 70s, will I still remember something when I was 11 years old? So is it worth me documenting it now rather than when I'm 60?
Right.
Because the 60-year-old documentation of my autobiography may be very different to how I'm documenting it today, right? So some parts of me says, like, maybe I should document the last 40 years now. And then I'll work on chapter 2 the next 40 years or next 30 years when I'm 60.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's a good idea.
That's a good idea. I don't know. I don't know. And you're probably going to ask me the follow-up question, which is, what's the title of the book? I have no idea. I have really no idea. Maybe something along the lines of, like, 85 not out. When I'm 85.
I love that. Yeah, I'll take that. 85 not out.
Yeah.
Speaking of cricket, I coming back to your point when you said you would spend, hours on the cricket field. I remember my days every Sunday, Saturday, even just practice. You were in that mode, in that zone. When you get to the field, even just transporting your kit bag, walking to the nets, you're in your element and you're so happy. It just made you feel like you were contributing towards something. Yeah, for yourself, but also it was a collective as well. You're not just there for yourself. And I myself was a keeper. So I had to be concentrating every single ball, every single, and then going to batting afterwards. So there was a lot of pressure, to be present, like, for 7 hours, 8 hours. And I did feel like there was a point in time where it got a bit too much, because every single, it became so, I guess, mundane, because you don't really think about it once you get to a certain level. It's just natural. But also you felt like, okay, what more can I do? And I think I stopped playing cricket when I broke my wrist. I think that was like my turning point of when, okay, I needed to transition now to just taking it easy and slowing down. But I remember those days. I mean, they were joyful. They were like pretty much the happiest times of my life. And I get where you're coming from. People won't understand the perception, but until you perform in that environment, you won't really understand. It's similar to when we would look at snooker players or people who play bowls. Similar. That's their happiness. We won't understand it because it's slow. We're not in that environment.
Yeah. Like, I read Shane Watson, the Australian cricket player. He has a book called Winning the Inner Battle, bringing the best version. I think it's just bringing the best version of yourself, or maybe just bringing the best version. And it's literally about scientific methodology that he used for his personal in-game experience and the mental skills around it to eliminate stress, anxiety, loneliness, and things like that. The focus point of playing any sport. Snooker's probably, I played snooker when I was younger, but you start off fully focused, but then you
Taper.
kind of taper off, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing, but that goes with education and learning, right? Your peak concentration level is here when you start, and in 20 minutes it's down here. So science will tell you that every 20 minutes you need to take a break. Like even a 2-minute break will bring your concentration level back up there, right? So that's where you see some of the top batsmen in the world, after every ball they will move away from the crease and they'll take 15 seconds before they reset.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break.
Yeah.
And for me, that's like I only started figuring this out when I started reading certain elements of books, especially Shane Watson's book, actually. And I can't remember one of the opening Indian batsmen. He did this series against England. Every ball he would walk across to the other wicket and come back. And I could see some of the commentators getting frustrated with this, right? But he was just resetting. And that reset moment, it doesn't need to happen in sports. It can happen in work.
Yeah.
It can happen in relationships. It can happen when you're just spending, time teaching your children. That reset moment can be anything, right? What do you do when you want to reset? Everyone has a different kind of vice to reset.
Yeah. I think for me, it was on the field. I think similar to, is it Shubman Gill, no? That did that? Was it
No,
him?
it was, I can't remember his name now, but my mind has gone absolutely blank. I see his face.
But yeah. No, similar
I
to
can't remember his name.
Step away from the crease, just make your gloves right again, pads right again, get back into the headspace for the next ball, and then you go again. And similar to what's now in life, even in the workplace environment, sometimes you do get fatigued. It's okay. You take maybe a 10, 15-minute break. You do feel a little bit better. Or go outside, get some sun into your face, walk around, smell the air, and then come back. Because sometimes we get too bogged down into focus mode that we forget that, we're not machines. We kind of need that kind of reset all the time. And I appreciate that, you brought that up.
Yeah. And the batsman is Yashvi Jaswal.
Oh yeah, Jaswal. Yeah.
Jaswal. And he did that. He'd literally walk away and come back, play around and everything. But you know what it is? Good for him. If that's how he wants to focus, that's how he wants to focus.
Yeah. Staying on the topic of cricket, your boys are now, taken to the sport, and you've now also advocating for them and promoting them. How did that all start, and what was the drive to get their passion going?
Good question. I think when my eldest son was just before he was 2 years old, actually, for his second birthday, I bought him a swing ball set, which is like a pole that's stable on a base and it's got a string and a ball next to it.
Yeah.
And I
the
always
original pedal, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the original. And I always knew, I played sports from a young age, and I always recognize that hand-eye coordination is the key to pretty much loads of sports, right? Being good at any sport, hand-eye coordination is key. So I also knew that any good cricket player can play tennis because of the hand-eye coordination is very, very key to both games. So in my head, I thought, let me just get him this, swing ball set and let him hit. I remember my wife was like, he's 2. What is he going to do with a swing ball? I said, let him have a go at it. And quite quickly, his birthday's in May, so it's in the summer in the UK, and he was playing around with it in the garden area and stuff like that. And then, naturally, I think someone got him a kiddie cricket set, you get a soccer ball or whatever. And it just kind of naturally he started playing with a cricket bat and a ball. He was just playing, as kids do, just playing around at home. Interestingly enough, his level of desire to be involved in cricket grew when he saw me play.
Okay.
And so I actually played a match, and he came and saw me play, and he was like obsessed afterwards with the idea that if he's good enough, he could play in that game with me one day. Right. And to me, that moment
Yeah.
was incredible because he set himself his own goal at the age of like 3. Right. And even now, he still feels that if he gets good enough, he's going to play in the men's team with me one day on a Sunday, right? Yeah. And obviously, I'm never going to say no to that to him, because I don't want to, throw water on his idea. But that's how it all started, and it stemmed from that. And since then, he's just passionate about the game of cricket. And he constantly wants to practice. My youngest, my son below, age 4, he's just turned 4. He's kind of like a bit of an all-rounder. Like he'll play soccer, and like my eldest son is always in a cricket shirt. My youngest one is always in an Arsenal shirt, so a football shirt. So my youngest one is very much, he's like going on his own kind of crusade of figuring out his own sport. But even just now, like 1 hour ago, I have the little kiddie bowling machine in my living room. Both of them are doing 15, 16 balls, just forward defending. And to be honest, cricket is the ultimate sport. It's the most, I still think it's the most purest sport for a young child to learn and get so much from it. And a lot of the lessons that you learn in that game, such as discipline, focus, team camaraderie, respect for your opponent, for your team members, for your umpire, the referees, like all of those qualities will set you up in life for so many different things. And it's unlike other sports. And that's where, maybe I'm a little bit perverse when it comes to wanting my boys to play cricket, but it's because cricket gave so much to me.
Yeah, you've taken me back to a moment in time when you speak about respect for the game and just people around you. We used to tour school cricket, and when you represent your state or your province, and you're kind of housed in boarding schools and away from home, and also you get fed by the chefs during your downtime and your lunch breaks and dinner time. And there was a very important lesson that we learned that day during that time was you go to the chefs after your meal. You take your hat off and you say thank you for your meal. Thank you for the meal. That kind of lesson is how now I take that into my daily life. When somebody offers something to you, nowadays, you don't have to take your hat off or anything. But the respect element is there, where you go and say thank you for the meal. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's the smallest of things, right? Like the chef is fueling you on the pitch, right? So without that food, you are never going to be as good as you can be. 100%. And I think that level of respect for anyone, you've probably seen that picture of Obama fist pumping the cleaner in the hallway of the White House, right? Like, you got to respect everyone, because that person allows the president to do the job. Right.
Yes.
So, I'm totally, I back that concept of just being respectful to everyone around you. And again, I want my children to be exactly that same way. Never forget where you came from. Never forget what took you to get to where you are. And also never forget the people that helped, like your parents, right? Like, there's people that my parents will introduce me to and say, hey, like, these people put us up when we first came to UK. And I'm like, hey, uncle, auntie, thank you so much. Right. Without your support, my mom and dad could have done this. And then, now I'm here doing this. And so it's all kind of all linked.
Yeah. How do you approach setting teaching your kids to set boundaries also, because they also need to protect themselves as well in this day and age?
Yeah, absolutely. They're obviously quite young, but so this is something that we're kind of working out as young. I don't know if we're young parent, or I'm not a young parent anymore, but as parents, but both my boys are starting a new school next week, and there is my eldest son told me he was a little bit nervous about starting the new school, even though he knows 3 or 4 of the boys already in the class because he was in another school with them as well. Naturally, he'll be nervous, but he told me about it the other day. So we spoke about it, and I told him about, like, be open to speak to everyone in your class. Be tell everyone what makes you happy, right? Tell them about cricket, tell them about sports. And with the weather still being okay in the UK, like, you're probably going to be playing outside. So, grab a ball, grab a bat, and just start playing cricket, right? And bring people together. Like, you be that person that brings people together. For me, I don't want to set boundaries to make anything off limit. Because, I want them to understand what good and bad is, but I also want them to make the mistakes. Like, I actually want them to make the mistakes, because I think that's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
And it was, not the way, like, a lot of people are protective, and I am very protective of my boys. But I also want to be naturally allowing them to find their own way.
Yeah, I love that. And just the fact that he came to you with that is such a win in terms of expressing how he felt. If you think about it.
Honestly, I was shocked. Like, he was like, it was odd because my wife and my youngest son went for lunch somewhere, and me and him had just finished some cricket practice, and we came back for lunch at home, and we were just having lunch. And he's the type of kid that when he's hungry, he doesn't talk. Like, he just sits and eats, and he'll look at me even when I'm talking to him, and I can see in his face, he'd be like, "Daddy, I don't want to talk to you. I'm just eating my chicken. Like, leave me alone." Right. And then I just kind of asked him about school. Like, you looking forward to school next week? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I'm a little bit nervous. And I was a bit like, whoa, this is a moment. Right.
Yeah.
And I was taken back, but it was nice that he was comfortable enough to tell me that. And I felt very at ease to tell him what I would do. Mm-hmm. And it took me back, to be honest, when I was a kid. Like, I'd moved, by the time I was, so I was 9 when I moved schools. From one part of London in the UK to another part of London. And when I joined this class, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anyone in the school. And I always remember, like, I couldn't remember if I was nervous. I was excited, but I wasn't nervous. But I do remember that when I was in that room, like, everyone else knows each other. That's what I felt. That was the feeling I felt. So when it came to the break time and the boys were playing football, I remember this one guy. He's like, "Do you play football?" I went, "Yeah." He's like, "Can you score goals?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Cool, you're on my team." And that was it. That was all it took, right?
Yeah.
And it was sport. The sport made that happen.
Yeah.
And the same thing for my son. Like, I said to him, like, when you're there, play with everybody. And if you get some time outside, grab a ball, grab a bat, and just start playing cricket with each other and get everyone involved, right?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of cricket. 20 people can sit there and play, right? It's not like playing snooker where it's just exclusive to 2 people playing one versus one. Like, cricket is 10 versus 10 or 11 versus 11.
And everybody feels included in some form of way. No, but it's not like I'm just on the sidelines, I can't play. You involve everybody, whether they can or not, but it's just about the participation. And I think sport is, I used to coach under 6s football, like really small kids, 3 years old. And then I slowly transitioned to bigger boys, bigger age group, 9, 10. But even the shyness, the most awkward looking child or awkward feeling child, eventually break down and start playing with others more comfortably.
That express themselves. Like, sports allows you to express, right?
Yeah. And you see that because and then, you feel good as a person and as a coach, knowing that you've made a difference to some kid's life, giving them the opportunity to start interacting with other kids and not feel like they, don't belong. And I feel that's why sports come into play in such a powerful way into human interaction, character building, just leadership. You'll find leaders are born. You'll see when they are on the field. you'll know who's a leader and who's not. And you get those moments in time, like your boy came up to you and said, "Hey, Dad, feeling a bit nervous." I feel that's a win in this day and age where a lot of focus is now placed on men's mental health, even boys, younger. That series that came out, Adolescence, in the UK. And I feel your boy is on the way to living an expressive life and not being afraid to say how he feels. And that's because the onus on the parents. You guys have given him that opportunity, safe space to come and say, "Hey, Dad, I'm not feeling X, Y, and Z today."
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like, I don't think I ever told my dad I was nervous about anything in my life, right? I don't think I said that to my mum either, because they had their own battles, right? It's kind of that thing, like, you grow up a little bit harder, like, as in, like, thicker skin in my generation anyway, because of the fact, like, you just have to learn things your own way a little bit, right? But we're now in a position where we can, we're smart enough. We're accustomed to people having different feelings. People like that show Adolescence. It teaches people, right? I'm a trustee to a charity here in the UK called We Beyond, which is very much around mental health for young adults. And for me, like, I'm a huge believer that we can do a lot more to support the well-being of young adults and children, especially. And it's criminal to think that we could ignore it. And that's why, like, for me, talking with my children, my wife does an exceptional job, right? In sense of, like, she communicates with them really well. She, the emotional intelligence, driving conversation is super important, and empowering them to not only openly speak, but be wary and be knowledgeable, about what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And being able to express their feelings alongside with it.
Yeah. No, man, kudos to you guys. Keep doing the work with your kids.
Still
And
learning.
No, it's going to be a continuous journey, but up until now,
Yeah.
you guys have done an amazing job, and I commend you for that.
Thanks.
The hashtag What's Her Story? Where did that brainchild come about? How did that?
Oh, yeah. So that came about. So in Toronto, 2015, 2015 or 16, maybe 15, I believe. I was working with a group of people, and we were looking at different kind of events around entrepreneurship. And whilst I was in Toronto, I noticed that there were a lot of female entrepreneurs that were out there doing entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
Compared to in the UK, it was just a little bit more quieter, especially from the Sri Lankan Tamil kind of populace. And I was just kind of like sensing and meeting these amazing Tamil entrepreneurs that were female. And I decided, like, wouldn't it be cool to host a event which amplified their voices about their journey into entrepreneurship, right? To inspire other females to adventure into entrepreneurship, and breaking down barriers about the perception of female entrepreneurs, especially from the Sri Lankan Tamil community. And yeah, we hosted the event in Toronto. I think it was in the distillery district in Toronto. Yeah. And it was a great event. It was packed. It was 7 founders, female founders. I hosted it. And we had a panel chat around their experiences of being an entrepreneur, their journey, the ups and downs, the misconceptions. And it was just well received.
Yeah.
And I brought that event to London 2 or 3 times in the UK, and ever since then I've just been a real advocate for female entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Like I when I say advocate, I don't have like a badge that I wear.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Saying that I'm a
Yeah,
female.
yeah.
Like, it's just like, I don't ever see a problem where men and women can't be equal.
Yeah. You see value
sometimes,
in
yeah, I see value in it. Like 50% of the population in the world is female. Like they need to, like when females need to be equal, period. Like as a male, like, and I still feel it crazy that we even have these conversations. Not me and you have these conversations, but this conversation in the world exists. But then this is the thing. Like going back to my children, like one of my boys, my youngest boy, is going through the phase at the moment which he like hates girls. Right? He's 4, but it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But then I kind of make sure that he understands, like, hey, like mummy's a female, right? And mummy is like amazing, right? And she's, and I even to the point where I say like mummy's better than daddy at so many things, right? And it makes him think, right? And the concept here is that the more we can educate that, women are, equal or even the superior gender in the conversation, the more and more the right light gets shone on the conversation itself. And I think for me, it's like I say, adding value. Like, where can I add value? And I stumbled into this kind of space, and it comes down to the fact that, my mum's amazing, my grandmother's amazing, I have amazing, even now, females around me, my wife, my mum, my mother-in-law, these are amazing people, and, they set the example for other males in my family. And I want that same kind of energy just to kind of go out and multiply. And how can I do that? I use my own superpowers, getting people together, running events, hosting these events and whatnot. And it seems like it works. And, the success and the impact is great because people accept that, especially in the Sri Lankan Tamil community, more needs to be done. And this is part of the conversation. What's her story?
And if, somebody's listening to this, they want to kind of research this particular, venture, can they find it online? Is there...
So What's Her Story doesn't have like an Instagram page or any of these type of things. Like, to me, it's going back to old school, like the brand or the event itself. Like, I control it. If I want to do an event next month or for International Women's Day, I'll do an event for International Women's Day. So the best way to kind of learn more about it is to reach out to me on any kind of social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, and whatnot. And I'm happy to kind of like to talk about it.
For sure. And I will leave links in the description below also of, where to follow you so people can reach out for that. But no, I think it's an awesome platform to get people to start talking about these things. And especially, like you said, our female counterparts who are looking to, grow themselves, not in just a business venture, but also personally as well, in terms of how they see themselves in the world. And I advocate fully for it as well. And, we got to have more of these discussions to bring it up to the surface, because otherwise it's just going to sit in the dark and we're just going to go on with life and nothing's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is the nothing can happen thing is where like that is a failure. For everyone, if we don't move the needle in our lifetime on various different things, that is failure.
Yeah. Hence why the last couple of years have been more of like, just try something. You never know whether it's going to succeed or not, but at least you tried. Because if you don't, then you kind of regret it back in, looking back in hindsight, or not regret, but you look back in that moment, you think, yeah, maybe I should have, I could have done something to, like you said, move the needle. You're not going to get it right all the time. It's not everything that you want to try. You're going to be, super excited to go out and venture upon. But, the most important ones, you'll resonate with it in some form of way.
Exactly. And you got to try, like you got to give it a shot, as, Wayne Gretzky's famous quote, like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yes.
Right. You've got to take the shot. You've got to make it. You've got to try and move the needle. Right.
Yeah.
I have failed in so many things in my life. Right. So many things. But maybe when I do write my autobiography, Like I look back and I think, well, at least I tried something. At least I tried and I failed and I experimented and I lost time, I lost money, I lost friends or whatever it is, like you lost in the conversation, like at least I gave it a shot. And that's, at the end of the day, when you meet your maker, you're going to have to look them in the eye and say, hey, did I move the needle? Did I make a difference? The actual answer I want to give is that I did it the way I wanted to do it. And I gave things a shot. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you can do is you do your best. We come alone, we go alone.
Exactly. That's 100%.
Yeah. Staying humble and staying zen within the moment. What does like a day-to-day mood look like for you? Or how do you stay grounded, amidst all the things that are going on in your life?
How do I stay grounded? For me, it's very much about, I always want to I don't set them, but I always have something that I'm striving towards, right? So for me, it could be anything that from, I don't know, playing a cricket game on Sunday, I'm looking forward to that, or I'm looking forward to a vacation, or I'm looking forward to a new business venture or a conversation or a dinner, So for me, the outlook is always kind of what I'm actually, looking at on the horizon. And as long as I'm getting closer to that, that means I'm, going back to what I said, moving the needle, right?
Yeah.
I'm moving forward. And that's what really keeps me in that kind of Zen moment. But more importantly, it helps me be accountable to myself, right? That am I going in that direction? Am I moving at the right pace? Yes. And if it's all kind of box ticking, then I know that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. And are you kind to yourself when it's not going your way?
I used to be pretty harsh, to be honest. I used to be quite critical of myself. I am quite critical of myself even now, but I'm critical, but I'm fair. Okay. If that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
I like, for instance, I'm not going to cry. I won't cry about something that I didn't achieve if I didn't put my all into it. But when I was before, I would be like, oh man, and I'd be like, oh, I didn't deserve it. I didn't get it because I didn't work hard enough and stuff like that. But that now is like, hey, why did I expect I was going to get something from this? I gave 20% of my time. The person that actually got it gave 100% of their time. So that's why they've got it in their hands and I don't have it. Yeah. Right. So for me, it's about just realizing like, what is when to be harsh and be fair on yourself.
Yeah. And it's good that you use the word accountable. I myself too now have looked back on times and I always wondered, maybe I felt I was dealt a bad hand, but like you said, the other person probably put in more effort than you. And you got to take those lessons into practice and kind of hence why when people reach out or they give me times that are a bit earlier than usual for me to wake up and get ready for the day, I'm like, no, I will put in the time because this is something that I want to succeed. I want it to succeed. So you put in the work, you put in the hours, and it doesn't when it doesn't feel like work, it's also a bit more like calming because now you enjoy what you're doing.
100%. I've always said this, if you can find something that you can monetize that you love, that is the purest, right? If you can, for instance, if I could play cricket and get paid.
Yeah, for sure.
that is the slam dunk moment, right? And that's why all these sports people, men, women, they get paid so well and they enjoy what they do. And you think wow, that's amazing, right? But how amazing would that be, right? So for me, finding something that you love, being passionate about it, and if you can monetize it and if you make money from it, that is all the right things.
Yeah.
All the right things.
Speaking of which, if young entrepreneurs are listening to this, what kind of advice would you give them to start building from the heart and not just think about the hustle?
Yeah, building from the heart. That is like literally the foundation of entrepreneurship, good entrepreneurship, you know. You will succeed much faster and quicker when you find something that you're passionate about, like a problem that you're solving. You'll work the longer hours. You will suck more blood out that stone because you have like your heart into it, right? Going and I give you example, going and becoming an online trader because you've just seen 10 YouTube videos because you want to make money. You're not doing that with your heart, right? Building a product for someone that suffers from autism and you're building that because maybe someone in your family has autism. You're building that with like passion.
Yeah.
Right. You're building that with a different level of hunger. Right. So for me, those entrepreneurs that find problems that they are relatable to, right, I truly believe you'll have more luck in succeeding. So that is something that I would wait for. Don't go looking for it. Wait for it and it'll happen.
Yeah, patience also is the key element to all of this. It's sometimes we want the quick fix, but we have to also play the long game. Hence why cricket and test match is the ultimate. We go back to that.
Absolutely. You know, I heard like Toronto, is it Toronto, Canada doing like a 60 ball game now?
Probably.
There's like a Masters 60, T60. It's like 60 balls. And in my head, I was like, that's crazy. 60 balls is not a cricket game.
No, it's 10 overs.
That's 10 overs. That's crazy.
No, Kobi, thank you so much for sharing your inspiration, your insights with us today. Truly appreciate it. And before we go, just a quick fire round. What's one quote or mantra you live by? One quote or mantra that you live by?
I will go back to the Wayne Gretzky one, like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
A moment recently where you felt truly present.
That moment with my son the other day when he told me he was nervous about school, that felt like a real dad moment for me.
Nice. And lastly, what's next for you? How are you preparing for your next venture?
How am I preparing my next venture? With a lot of research. That's exactly what's going on right now in my kind of, in my head. I am working on something which requires a lot of time and effort at the moment. And a lot of that time and effort is going into research. So my preparation does come down to right now, just doing a lot of analysis to make sure that the place I'm looking to get into is still a marketplace which is monetizable, and there is a long opportunity there for me as well. So, but yeah, that's I'm a business consultant by trade, so business analysis is basically what I do.
Stay tuned. Now, Kobi, thank you so much for taking the time out. Putting me in your schedule. I appreciate it, and the listeners do too. Thank you so much for your time. Guys, remember to also like and subscribe and share this podcast with anybody that you know who might need it. It might provide value. Thank you guys for all the support and love. And until the next one, guys, thank you so much. Stay zen.